Big question today. Should you, BYOB, should you be your own boss? Today, I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of entrepreneurship versus having a career, going into a career, working up the corporate ladder. There are so many pros and cons. And spoiler alert, like the real boil down is the path you choose. Number one is maybe not the path that you're going to stay on for the rest of your life, but it's also a very personal path, as in there is no right or wrong answer. There is the answer that is right for you, that suits your personality or suits your needs for yourself and your family for that season. Hiram and I have never been hardcore one way or the other. I would never, ever look at somebody else and say, you should quit your job and start a business. Because let me tell you, there's some tricks to starting a business, and it takes commitment. Did you know that when you start a business, when you be your own boss, the very first employee that you have to deal with, and I can speak from experience, the very first employee you have to deal with is yourself, as in you, who is closest to yourself, has to use your strengths and become aware of your own weaknesses. Super hard to do. It's super hard to do. You're going to want to spend all of your time in your strengths and all of your time ignoring your weaknesses. And that's going to cause so many problems to your bottom dollar. Should you go for a career or start your own business? And the answer is, it depends on where you're at and what your goals are. But let me tell you some of the pros and cons. And also, I think that it's possible that while you are in a career, that you could start your own business, and it will take a better understanding of your time and a very precise ordering of your priorities. But it is possible to self-employ yourself out of your career. I'm going to say that again. It's possible to self-employ yourself out of your career. And I think that that is a way to do it. But who are the people that probably want to become entrepreneurs, like should really consider entrepreneurship as the way to go? Number one, there's three. There's three times when you should consider being an entrepreneur. Number one, you have a unique idea that you don't see anybody else implementing, and your current job or some other future employer would not be interested, would not see its brilliance, would not bring it to fruition, or would not bring it to fruition in the way that you think is optimal. Number one, you've got a creative, brilliant idea that needs to be brought to the world. Businesses tend to be traditional. They do not like new and innovating. They'll give lip service to it. Hey, let's do this. But no, they're going to fall back on the tried and true every time because they have so many other factors to take into consideration. They need to be conservative to an extent. And the bigger they get, the more conservative they have to be. They cannot afford to take big risks like they did in the early days. So that's number one. You have an idea that is unique and can only be brought forth through the entrepreneurial path. Number two, the job market has decided you are not suited for it. You can't get a job. Start a business, okay? But this happens often. Companies let go of creative people because they don't like their creativity. They don't know how to handle it. They don't realize that the creative genius in some people, like 10% of their creative genius, is worth 100% of somebody else's time. They are looking for cogs that will keep the current system going, and a cog does not need creativity. We're seeing this play out in the political system. I mean, we just watched how one party didn't even hold primaries. They just switched candidates midstream. That's showing cogs. One cog was replaced by another cog instead of somebody creatively casting their vision and getting so many people on board that they became the chosen nominee. So it just happened in the political, but it happens in business all the time. Most times they are looking for people that fit their job description. I remember the very last job that I had several years ago before I went to work for myself. And I did the same thing of I self-employed myself until I was fully employed. But I went to that job. Their job description was very small and it was lower paying than what I was seeking. And it was a smaller town, but I was choosing it for its flexibility, for its small office, for its potential. I wanted to learn this field. But I also knew the benefit that I brought to this office that they might not be able to see yet. And so I articulated that in my interview. I said, I can see how I could help you do this and I could help you do that. And also, I don't want to stay at this rate. And I understand that you don't know me from Adam and you don't know the value of this. So I'm willing to start here, but with the understanding, and I was asking the question up front, how much growth is there in this position? And it worked out well because it ended up faster than normal promotions. I promoted myself out of this job title to this, like 2 tiers up, which is my goal to get. So you may not be suitable for the job market. Your creativity may not be what the job market is looking for. They're just looking for cogs, and you've got too much creativity to be wasted. And so maybe you take a job that pays the bills and doesn't require you to use your creativity, and you use your creativity on the side to build your business. All right. So that's number 2. Number 3 is not that the job market isn't suited for you, but you're not suited for a job. Don't feel bad about this. Really, do not feel bad about this. I have discovered there are 3 core freedoms that entrepreneurs crave. And they'll give up one of these for the other 2. They'll use them back and forth, but at the end of the day, they are striving for freedom in 3 core areas. Those areas are, number 1, time freedom, number 2, money freedom, and number 3, creativity freedom. So what does that look like? Number 1, time freedom. Entrepreneurs are a crazy breed. I love them. I love us. I've been married to an entrepreneur all my life. They will work 80 hours a week for maybe 6 weeks in a row just so that they can say, I own my time and I'm going to only work 20 hours this next week or flex or whatever. But it's not the amount of hours. It's that they own their hours. They can choose what they say yes to and what they say no to. And yet that doesn't mean that they're lazy. In fact, the entrepreneurs are only people that'll work like 80 hours a week so they don't have to work the same 40 hours a week. But it's so true because you want your time freedom. You want to put your time to what matters most. You want to put your time to the things that move the needle. Super frustrating to put your time to things and you can't see if it's making a difference or not. So entrepreneurs are craving time freedom. I remember talking with a sibling and I said to him, how important is meaningful work to you? And he says, oh, not really at all. He goes, as long as they're paying me, I don't care. And I said, you're telling me that if the company told you to dig a ditch one day, and then the next day they told you to refill in the ditch, and then the third day they told you to re-dig the ditch, he's like, well, yeah, if they paid me for every single one of those days, then yeah, it doesn't matter to me. And I was just like, you and I are so different because I'd be like, we wasted resources. This is terrible. We did no good at all whatsoever. What a shame. We could have been doing so much more good. It blew my mind, but it was so insightful because I'm like, we're different. And like I said, the differences aren't bad. The differences are just different. Isn't that a profound saying? The differences aren't bad. They're just different. Okay. So you are not suited for jobs, as in you crave time freedom too much, money freedom, or creative freedom. So I was talking about time freedom. Money freedom, I remember we all go and we hope to get a job that gives us amount of security. Okay, number one, security is a myth. Maybe there's a little bit of security if you receive tenure, but receiving tenure and very well paid tenure is two different things. Also, it used to be if you put your 40 years in, then you would get your pension. That seems to have gone by the wayside for so many, for most people. So nowadays, in 2024, you have to create your own security. And the best way to create your own security is to make yourself highly hireable through a business or also through a career. Like if your company closed, but your skills are so unique that another company would snatch you up in a second. That's where the security comes in. It's not in the strength of the company because companies can come and go pretty quickly, but it is in the strength of your skills, the value of your skills to the market, whether that's in a career or in a business that you've started. But there are other ways to build security, as in making enough money at your job or in your business that you have a healthy reserve, 6 months or more of living expenses. The amount of security that comes from having that is a game changer. Money freedom. So the problem is careers, sometimes the career that you can see or the jobs that you can see available to you are just not going to ever pay you what you hope to make, especially if you do not have the university qualifications. When you see that, it is almost a no-brainer to start your own business because it is not that difficult to get to 6 figures when you know what you're doing in a business, when you're offering a valuable service to somebody. But it could take a lifetime to get to 6 figures in some fields, and some fields will never get to 6 figures. I remember when I was way back in the day working from home, I was doing some transcriptioning for a hospital. And they had psychologists with master's degrees, and they were only paying them $35,000 a year for the services that they were providing through the hospital. I was stunned. You got a master's degree and you're only making $35K. This was in about 2010. It did not seem like that was the amount of wage that I would have expected you would get after that much schooling and that much expertise. And that's because of the way the system works. You're just a cog. You're replaceable. You're not offering something unique. You're offering a menu service for the hospital, and the value's not there because it's only worth what Medicaid is paying for it. So there's just no room for growth there. Okay. So we talked about time freedom. We talked about money freedom, as in if you want to make more money, oftentimes start a business. Now, if you want to make fast money, if you want to lose fast money. Not saying it's a guarantee. I'm saying it's a learning experience, and the more you learn, the more you'll make. And the faster you learn, the faster you'll make it. Okay. The third freedom, and this may or may not be important to you, but if it's important to you, then it's really important to you probably, and that is creative freedom. And under this creative freedom is a lot of things, and this is the one that breaks my heart. I was recently talking with somebody, and they were telling me about the problems where they were working, and I could tell that their manager did not appreciate their creativity, did not appreciate the uniqueness and the talent that they were bringing to the position. And the manager was relying upon weird tactics like, you must not know your material because you didn't know the answer to the question the way I phrased it. And the person knew their material, but the learning style was completely different because they were a creative person. And the manager, who's just a manager, has no idea about the differences in learning styles. And he's never studied that. He's never studied psychology. He has no idea that just because this person wasn't able to give the correct answer to his random, out of context question did not mean that this person couldn't do an amazing job for the job. That's pretty frustrating to me as a teacher and as a mentor. It's like, people, if we don't understand learning styles and if we don't understand personalities and we don't understand people's unique gifts, the most important thing that a manager should learn is how to find somebody's unique gifts and then use them in a way that profits the company. But that's not how they think. They're thinking cogs in systems, cogs in systems. So if you don't look exactly like they're expecting, they don't know what to do with you. Now, here's the downside to that. And I'm getting a little bit firm because it's so frustrating to me. The downside is this: they're chasing away great talent, people that could really benefit them, really benefit us all. And secondly, while they're doing that, they're robbing that person's confidence at the exact same time. So me, as a clarity and confidence coach, I am like, oh, you need to understand. Your manager's just seeing in black and white. They can't notice your brilliance. I mean, they just can't see it. It's like they've got sunglasses on. Let me point out to you why what you did works and works so well. And maybe it's not you, it's that your manager is blind to your brilliance. So we have these conversations with my clients. But in the context of also holding space of now, what do you want to do about it? Recognizing that the manager's not going to change. And that's the way of frustration, is hoping that the manager has changed. Are you going to change to speak the manager's language? Or are you going to bet on yourself and take your brilliance somewhere else? Either way, it's going to take creativity. But see, entrepreneurs, if you will realize that freedom of creativity is super important to you, and freedom of creativity could be also the right to say what you want to say without fear of getting fired. That's a big creativity. Creativity might be, I want to market this in a unique way that's never been tried before. Creativity might be, I want to sell this, but I don't want to sell this. Creativity might be, I want to, oh, here's where entrepreneurs start losing money, because they want to start businesses before the other businesses are running smoothly. So creativity, when I'm working with those entrepreneurs that know they need focus, creativity looks like, hey, listen, get this so smoothly running that takes none of your time and attention. And we are going to put your creativity in useful places in your business. Like, how could you creatively bring in more clients through creating interesting content on social media versus starting a random business that fits nowhere within your profitability? Or if you're going to start that new income stream, it's not always wrong to do that. Make sure that this is practically passively self-running itself first. Either way, but use your creativity. So don't let your boredom cheat you of tons of profits and wreck your business. As I'm talking, have you been thinking, which of these freedoms are important to me, and will my job allow me this, or am I creating these freedoms in my business? So career versus starting a business, there's lots of pros and cons, but getting to that time freedom, that money freedom, and that creativity freedom, that is the sweet spot for entrepreneurs. You will see that if any one of those three lack, you will be driving yourself to achieve it. The key is not giving up too much of one in pursuit of the other two to the point of burnout. That is when burnout comes in, is because you've denied your creativity too long, or you've tied yourself down to your business way too long. And even though you're making the money, you're like, I just want regular hours. A job sounds really great. Maybe I should explore that. Or maybe you should hit pause and think from big picture. Like, listen, if I was really creating the business of my dreams and making sure that I had the time freedom, the money freedom, and the creativity freedom, what does that look like? All right. If you have any questions about this, put them in the comments below. I'll make sure to read them and follow up with a future video if I need to. And if you'd like to explore this further, if you need clarity about what's the best route for you, or you're feeling like you're losing one of your core freedoms as an entrepreneur in your business, then reach out to me on social media. I'm on Instagram at April Bragg About Life or on Facebook at April Bragg. If time is precious to you and you just want to get to the answer quickly, then book a clarity call. I'll put that in the YouTube description. But pay attention to your freedoms. If you're a freedom-loving entrepreneur, make sure that you create a business around it and use wisdom in the whole, should I work a job or not? All right? Talk to you later.